This right here is one of my favorite versions of the thing. The Fantastic Four Marvel Legends classic look comes with an alternate head sculpt as well as interchangeable hands, which is actually pretty cool for this kind of figure. I ended up getting this one on clearance. I think it was like $8.99 or $11.99. I got it on Target probably like 2-3 years ago. Decided to finally do this review here for this figure. As you guys can see, the whole wave right there on the back. You can see a brief description on the back, and like I said, this is a classic look of the thing. You guys can see the other figures in this wave. I only have the Human Torch additional to the thing. I do plan on getting the other figures sometime soon in the near future, but definitely gonna like this. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the accessories first of the review of this figure, and then go on to the articulation, the accuracy, and everything else that comes with this figure. I'm not sure exactly what the resale price is right now for this one, but definitely a nice pickup. So when it comes to the accessories, this thing also comes with an additional head sculpt, which is actually really well detailed in my opinion, and two additional hands, which are two closed fists, with has a decent sized peg as well as this hinge, which I don't think I've seen this in too many other figures before, but this is actually a good addition for this figure the way it stands. Now the other head sculpt looks a little bit weird, as you guys can see that his left eye is kind of wonky, looks like it's veering off to the left, kind of looks kind of weird, or at least he looks like he's cross-eyed, and his mouth is open. It doesn't show any teeth. This one right here, his mouth is closed, you can see the teeth. So I'll be using this head sculpt versus this one just because that paint looks kind of weird, but I kind of like the presence of this figure, or at least his head sculpt altogether. So popping it in is actually fairly easy, not too hard. When it comes to changing the hands as well, it's pretty easy. You just pull it slowly. Make sure your figure is warm if it's been in a cold environment so the plastic doesn't break. I'm probably going to end up keeping it with one closed fist and one open palm just because I think that looks a lot better. When it comes to articulation, this figure is actually pretty well detailed as far as articulation wise, but when it comes to the detail of the actual sculpt of the thing, you guys can see that each piece has a little bit of a crack. Definitely makes it look like a rock in my opinion. Even the paint is slightly different. On the upper part is kind of like a yellowish orange, and the rest is kind of like a regular shade of orange. He does have these underwear or shorts which is blue, and it is painted pretty decently. The part of the leg, it is sculpted in there, so you don't have to worry about it peeling or painting or the rubber restricting the articulation of this figure. Now when it comes to the arm articulation, his arm can do a 180 just like, or a 360 just like that. It goes high as this, which really isn't too bad. When it comes to the elbow joints, it is single jointed. Most big figures like this usually is single jointed and usually at a 90-degree angle. His hand can rotate, and because of that hinge, he can basically close it just slightly and open it, which is actually really good in my opinion. His head sculpt is pretty decent. He can look left and right, and I believe he could do a 360. Yep, pretty good. He looks up, doesn't really look up or down that much. When it comes to ab crunch, the ab crunch is basically non-existent. His body can rotate 360, and it kind of feels like it's like on a hinge or something because it does make that sound. You guys can see that the thighs can rotate 360. Now this figure does have pins, which is a shame because if it was pinless, it'd definitely be a lot better. It is double jointed knees, which is pretty good, and his foot can go forward and back, and it doesn't look like it would break. Has a pretty good range of motion there, and it kind of goes left and right, kind of like all wonky right there. Overall, really not too bad. Now this thing right here has a great deal of articulation. It's very smooth, really not too bad. Go ahead and compare him to other figures that I have. Probably just the big Hulk figures, only because it's like basically the good comparison for this. So I do have all three of the figures standing as straight as possible. Here we have the compound Hulk, which he does seem he's a little bit taller than both of these figures right here. We have Joe Fixit as well as the Thing. You guys can see that the Thing is obviously a smaller figure. But definitely doesn't mean that his presence won't be seen on the shelf. I really do think the Thing right here is a great figure. The details of the cracks makes it look very noticeable. And I don't have the other Fantastic Four figures, and I probably don't plan on getting them. Not sure exactly why. I mean, these figures when they first came out, they were pretty expensive, so I just didn't bother because they didn't come with a Build-A-Figure, so just it made no sense for me to get him at the time, but I only got the thing because he was cheap and he is a cool looking figure and makes a good display figure there on the shelf, which I'll probably put him in that shelf over there. But you guys let me know, what do you think as far as size comparison, if you think it'd be worth it. So let's go back into the further details of the thing. If you really like this kind of figure, or do you like just any Marvel Legend Hasbro figures, this is going to be a nice collection in my opinion. When it comes to articulation, I think it's a solid 8 out of 10, especially for how it is, how big it is. Although it does have double jointed elbows, it's not really a must for a figure this size. The paint application is definitely 8.5 out of 10. The overall packaging is, I would say, is 8.5 out of 10. The accessories, I didn't expect to have multiple hands, and definitely not a head sculpt. I did see that it had a head sculpt in the packaging, but they didn't really have to bring that into the whole package. But having these hands were pretty good because I didn't see them, so I was kind of surprised that they even came with it. But anyways, the overall figure, I definitely would rate this at 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely a must-have in your collection. Now, I'm not sure exactly what he retails. I may look it up after I end up editing this video, and I'll probably put the price here. But like I said, I ended up paying $8.99 for this thing figure. Definitely a nice pickup in my opinion. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think of this Fantastic Four Marvels thing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.